what we're looking, kind of a start, stop, continue sort of.
Okay.
What's going to be your platform? Sell yourself.
Okay, cool.
Council meeting September 3, 2019.
Don't use the horse grass water again.
Right. We'll call to we'll call to order this workshop we're going to have for
Focus.
Yeah, focus, Daniel's son. September 3rd, 2019. We'll forego the pledge. We'll do that at the start of the regular council meeting, and just kind of dive into this workshop since we're on sort of limited time. I'm going to go ahead and just hand this over to Diane for a moment. She can talk a little bit about the economic director role, because that's the reason we asked you all here today. We're getting ready to hire a new economic director, and we want to kind of run it in a sort of a start, stop, continue sort of format, but you can feel free to freelance as well if you have some other things you want to add. And I'll leave it to Diane. Start, stop, continue, of course, things we're doing well, things that maybe we're not doing so hot, and then things you'd like to see us continue doing. There.
So thank you for coming tonight. The job description for this particular position is pretty extensive, and the position that we've had in the past has worked quite a bit with the local community, local boards and committees, with the businesses as well, and also is very informed and knows a lot about the state programs that we have for economic development in the area, and that will include your IRP loans, microloans, and CDBG grants. This position in the past has been very instrumental in getting the TIF programs here in Lisbon. We have quite a few TIF programs going on. The Economic Development Director has a lot of extensive knowledge on TIFs, which, everybody knows that can be a spur of economic development, especially for business retention and also for employment in the area. So some of those goals and what we'd be looking for in an economic development director would be someone that is knowledgeable on all the state programs and works closely with the State of Maine DECD office, and also with the Chamber of Commerce and a lot of the local areas, groups that deal with economic development. And I think really the grant writing is a big part of this as well, because we probably would not have had any of the economic development, especially in the Lisbon Falls area, without the facade grant and without the downtown infrastructure grant, and also the Brownfields grant program that does the assessments on some of these properties in Lisbon that may have contamination. And if these owners of these properties want to look for development in the future, they certainly want to have that environmental assessment done on that property. So in the past, the economic development director has been well versed in all of these different programs, and all of those together and all the grant writing really is what has spurred Lisbon forward. And economic development is key, and if we want to keep growing the community, we want to keep having the economic development in this area. I guess that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Oh, that's good. Anybody else have anything they want to add before we turn it out to the...
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I would.
Please.
Is the actual position Economic and Community Development
Yes.
Director? Can you speak to the end community, and if there's anything from the existing job description that actually references that part of it?
Well, working with the local businesses and the local groups for community development, in my opinion. So I know Moxie isn't underneath this department anymore, but those are some of the things, and just working with the businesses trying to do events.
I think marketing, I
Bring in
think it falls under the marketing umbrella,
and
yeah.
marketing, that's one of the goals on the that the economic development director was going to work on this upcoming year, was a marketing strategy, because we're at that point now where we really want to market Lisbon.
Okay, so that said, it's been 1 year to get to this transition point where we, in our combined opinion from the council's perspective, made a conscious decision to realign Moxie with recreation to make sure that it was given its proper resources. Taking away from that, from the community side of this position, what are we going to backfill it with? Or is it a misnomer for what the position we're currently looking for? Because if I'm hearing something that's clearly light right now, it's what the community to be able to fill that in this position is.
I'd be kind of curious to just see with the audience and see what they have to
no
drink, and we can
problem.
actually
Outlining
throw in
role.
at the end. Yep.
I think what Alan's driving at is if that's gone, and that was the major makeup of that particular portion of the title, then what is it that could be added in there under that community umbrella that would serve to help partner with the economic side and support that? Because I think that's the key here. I think some of the things that maybe Moxie took time for, I should say, would be some of the things that didn't get attention on the business side of the house. So how do we address that? It's not to say that,
Or do we?
Well,
yeah.
Or do we?
I think you can in the form of different grants. There are a lot of grant opportunities out there through recreation, which was the last one that Tracy worked on,
Right.
that really brought this whole community together. And then the composting grant. And I really would like to focus on grants too, because there's a lot of opportunity out there for grants. And a lot of it, is around the communities.
And if I may add, I mean, I think it's important to know too that, Moxie, as much as it takes a lot of background and a lot of people to get together, and it's months of actually planning, it actually just is a weekend event
Right.
in our community, and there's actually stuff going on almost every weekend in our community that actually someone can participate and help.
Yep.
So,
Sure.
and I think that's where,
Yeah.
maybe we'll get some input from.
Some growth there for sure. Thank you, Diane. Thank you.
That said, I mean, we had the benefit of the meeting last, so at least the general public's up to speed with what got us to here and now, so.
Right.
See whether they want to take it for input. I mean, we have, anybody else read Angie Demore's?
Yep.
I think she raises some good points here.
I like both emails that you said today.
And representing PCL, I'm assuming this is what the group came up with, so it's a representative of everything that you guys discussed. Yeah. You want to share that for the listening public? Just
Sure.
so they know?
Read it. We can read it.
By all means.
Cassie, you probably you want it? I don't care. I'll read it. Okay. Just I will read the letter that we received from the president of Positive Change Lisbon. Good morning. First of all, thank you for the invitation to tonight's workshop. A number of members of Positive Change Lisbon have mentioned they are planning to attend this important meeting. Positive Change Lisbon has worked closely with previous economic development directors to promote business venture here in Lisbon with some success. In the last few years, Lisbon has found itself in the middle of continuous positive change with enhancements to public parks and thoroughfares, issuance of grant monies from various agencies, and development of new businesses. Finding the most suitable candidate to continue in this upward motion is a difficult task, to be sure. The members of Positive Change Lisbon are confident that the administrators in our town government work very hard towards efficiently filling this important position with a truly dynamic and capable person. During the last few weeks, members of Positive Change Lisbon have voiced their ideas concerning the ideal candidate, and some of these are shared below. Someone who is fair, looking out for all business, a candidate who is creative in spreading the good word on what's happening in Lisbon, someone who can engage public works projects with an eye for visual improvements, one who can effectively collaborate with various town entities to ensure our town is always looking great to potential investors, a person who would pop in from time to time just to have someone visible and interested in the community business, one who can demonstrate deep knowledge on the various programs available, including revolving loan funds and sources such as APCOG, Coastal Enterprises, FAME, and aware of the grant monies and have a history of successful grant writing. First and foremost, someone to attract new business to Lisbon by proactively working with the business community and community-based organizations like PCL and maintaining an open dialogue with all parties. Now, as stated, the task you have finding a candidate is a considerable one, but it's a great opportunity our town has at this juncture. On behalf of the Positive Change members of Positive Change Lisbon, we wish you well in your search and look forward to collaborating with you and supporting the town of Lisbon to effect positive change in our hometown. So that's a pretty nice little snapshot of, and I think it encompasses a lot of the things that we hope to touch on tonight and hear from you all, and maybe hear some other input and viewpoints as well. Thank you. So with that being said, let's turn it over to all of you. Feel free to, don't be shy, step up to the mic, just tell us the business name and offer up any suggestion and advice you have.
Or individual, doesn't need to be a business.
Yeah. Individual, exactly. Nonprofit, have at it.
Might as we'll get the party started here. My name's Scott Hall on the Town Planning Board, and currently the chair of the Lisbon Development Committee. And I'd like everyone to recognize that we have the Lisbon Development Committee, we have the Planning Board, we have a contract planner, we have Positive Change Lisbon Falls, and we have the council. And if you look at the, take the long view, we're all pretty much shooting for the same goal. And it would be nice if we all got on the same page and had all our ships pointing in the right direction. And I believe the economic community development position is pretty much like the binding agent. It's the hub, the center of communication. And so I'd like to see a pretty active economic development director that has the soft skills that can transcend from talking to a bank person all the way to talking to someone like me. And that's pretty much it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Todd Fellows, coming up as chair of the planning board. We can all read the goals that are in the statute, and I think everybody is pretty much on the same wavelength. The one thing I would like to see, though, is that we, as you know, we have a contract planner for the town. I think that whoever becomes the economic development director should have either some familiarity with the planning department of the state, or work directly with the planning, our contract planner. Currently, I know he's out there being our contract planner at whatever salary a year. He's technically responsible to the town manager, but practically could most work with the economic development and somewhat with codes as well as the planning board. So I think that should be taken into consideration. However we're going to develop the situation going forward, the town has to plan as well as in one way or another with economic development. So we're not looking at this year, we're looking at going forward. So any input or any consideration would be appreciated.
Thank you, Don.
Richard Main, Libby Street.
It's good to see you here.
As I say, you're looking good, sir.
Thank you. I'm blessed. Regarding the economic development director, I really think it's of utmost importance that the economic development director have real proficiency in grant writing. I think that is very critical. If you look over the last 10, 15 years in the town of Lisbon, most projects, most improvements have come as a result of grant writing. We have a grant that's possibly in process, we haven't been told about it yet, regarding Beaver Park. If there was no grant writer to help out with the process, we've had a forestry plan since 2012. It hasn't been acted on because there's no way to deal with it. And so I think that as you look at the applicants, that you will want to put major focus on grant writing and not just a cheerleader for the town, but grant writing. Somebody that can technically help the town through the myriad of requirements and different requirements and change of requirements in grant writing. And there are many. Millions of grants are out there. And the town has been very fortunate in getting some. But I think that it's important for economic development of whatever kind it is to have a grant writer, somebody who can do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can't be shy, can
I
you?
wasn't texting, I was actually making notes. Tracy Austin, owner of Frank's Legendary Status, and also on the school committee. So one, improvements into town. Obviously, we had benefited from some of the grant money, and that our project probably would not have been possible had we not been able to access that. So we are grateful for those facade grants to be able to get the building up and looking great. Some things that I would like to, characteristics of a person that I would like to see, someone that's a collaborator. I'm not a person who likes to, have all the accolades, and I don't think that that is a characteristic of somebody that needs to be put into this position. Somebody who should want what's best for the town first and foremost, rather than any type of recognition. Someone who understands small towns, even if they come from a larger town, just to understand the uniqueness of a small town and its challenges and difficulties. Someone who's a planner, not afraid to ask for help. We have a lot of resources. Our code enforcement officer works hand in hand with this type of position to help businesses that are coming into town, what the building codes might have to be, licensing, also working with Twyla's office for licensing, depending on what it is that's coming into town. So someone that's able to bridge those gaps so that you don't feel like you're on an island starting a new business. My husband and I had no experience in either of the businesses we opened. So, having some of those departments help us and guide us and keep me on task. I get an email from Twyla when my renewals are up, and thank goodness, because a year goes by like that. Someone who will promote events within our community, because part of our economic development is community-based. Businesses are going to look for that uniqueness in a town and how they rally around each other. So if there's an event that's, trying to raise money for LACO, which is a service that here in town, or scholarships that go to our students as a senior. I mean, our businesses and organizations in town have our students apply for scholarships. And, some years it's a lot of money, and any money is welcome for students to help assist in education. So we should also be helping them. If they're doing a raffle to help support their scholarship, that needs to get out. And that's something that on the school side we're going to try. That's kind of a driving force for us as well. I don't think either side, town or school, does a very good job at promoting what we do right, because we do it right, we're happy, we're glad, but we don't do enough to promote that. So on the flip side, when there are negative comments, we're on the defensive. And I would like to see that just turn around. And yes, anybody can make a negative out of a positive, but if we're always pushing out the positive, it makes it a little more difficult for people to believe. I also want this person to work with Public Works, just to do I'm not even asking for major things, just things like trimming the little roots that are growing up from the tree bases, on Main Street, so that they don't start becoming issues, trimming the trees a little bit for visual walking line. The weeds are starting to grow up through the cracks. Last year we did a spraying maintenance type of job where it killed the weeds. This year that didn't happen, so I don't know where those hiccups come into play, but just someone who can coordinate those things. Just they're minor things, and or even help promote businesses to go out and take care of the weeds. I go out and pluck them when I see them in front of my place, but I don't have time to do it all up and down Main Street. So those are the types of things as a business owner that I would like to see. They seem minute. The other thing is, I know, being the small town, we don't have all the money in the world for a salary. So some of the wants will go by the wayside. But I want someone who's willing to, if they don't have an area of expertise in an area that we may deem necessary, that they're willing to go and learn and to become that. I think that's important for a small community, is we're not going to get the whole package. It's not going to happen. But if we're willing, if the person that you interview or you are finding is willing to go and do the research, go ask a different municipality for help in doing something else that they might not know, that you do it a few times, you start to become an expert and find your own way. So I just want to put that out there, that I know that your job is hard. You're not going to get somebody that encompasses everything, but somebody willing to work at those things is going to be important.
Thank you, Tracy. And just to kind of jump in on that, I know you probably saw the top of my head more than you did see my face, because I was writing furiously, as every one of you have spoken so far. And one of the things you just said was something I wrote down. If we can't get somebody with that grant writing experience out of the gate, then it would be a requirement that we would get them into some sort of professional development within that first 6 to 12 months at the latest, and get them up to speed in areas that we think are critical for us to maintain sort of the progress we've had up to this point. So, sorry. Go ahead. Whoever's next.
Hi, George Roy. I'm with the Lisbon Credit Union, also a resident of Lisbon. Lisbon's a great town. A lot has happened in this community over the 30-some-odd years that I've been part of it. Would like to see continued growth moving forward. To me, this particular position, we do have limited resources. I agree a lot with what has been said. In fact, I probably agree with everything that's been said. But I don't think we want to lose the focus of what the position is, and that is economic development. That is having a good understanding of what's available in town as far as inventory of space, keeping your ears to the ground, having someone who is knowledgeable of what's happening in the area, what businesses might want to come here and relocate to this community, offer employment opportunities for our residents. To me, economic development is, the resources have to be spent trying to expand the business tax base in this community, to try to remove some of the pressure off the residential. So in my opinion, the bulk of this person's time ought to be trying to do just that as far as developing business, attracting business, assisting businesses with what's available for loans, whether it be through our loan program here in town or AVCOG or CEI or wherever it may be. But to me, that's what the main thrust of this position ought to be, and hopefully the person we hire to fill that spot will certainly have some experience in these areas. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Mr. Chair, to follow with George,
Please.
promotion of business.
Yep.
The fact that one of the things that observation on my part, and the fact that through a combination of a lot of people's help, the success story that we're actually seeing on the Lisbon Falls Main Street side should be applied to the other side of town. The fact that we should never miss a grand opening, and we should promote success stories all throughout the town. The fact is, when it falls flat, it falls flat. I don't care if it's on Main Street or on Village Street. It's one community.
Perfect. Anything else? Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Bill Cool. I'm here as part of PCL, part of Rec Committee, something else. Also as a private citizen.
Scout leader.
Yeah, scout leader. Thank you. First of all, USM has a grant writing course. It's 3 days. It's pretty good. I've taken it. So, FYI.
You're volunteering? That's what I heard.
No. What are you going to pay me for it? So, whomever you hire as the economic development director here in Lisbon has a mighty task of selling Lisbon to itself. If you look at the Lisbon Community Facebook page, there's a lot of negativity that spills forth, tax increases and what have you. And I have the advantage of not being a native and only living here for the past 16 years. And I've seen how the town's changed since my wife and I moved here. And it's a massively different place than when we closed on our mortgage in 2003. It has life to it that we hadn't seen before. And when we were deciding where to live in the northeastern part of the U.S., we decided to stay here because it is a place where I can send my kids off, and most of the time they come back. So that is something that I did not run across in other places where I lived. So whomever you bring into this position has to be someone who can realize the positive parts of Lisbon and sell it to the citizens of Lisbon. I also want to say that in my real life, I work for a state agency, and there's lots of money on the table for housing stabilization, keeping older folks and disabled folks in their homes, and things of that sort. But someone has to ask for it. It will not be handed out. Someone has to put in an application and say that we need these things. We need to redevelop older apartment buildings to de-lead them, to make them safe for the people who live there. Because I know the rental market in this area is getting tighter and tighter every day. And the rents that people are getting for a 2-bedroom apartment are unbelievable 10 years ago. So whomever it is has to be willing to work with us at the state, which we can be difficult sometimes. So, and I wish you luck in your hunt.
Thank you.
And just to add to that too, I think it's an important fact that he brought up, and I think George also did, was the idea that I think a lot of our growth necessarily isn't, we've seen in the last couple of years come from outside of the community, but a lot of the growth has been from business owners within the community that's actually expanded, where I've actually had businesses outside of our area bringing them closer to town because they see the benefits and stuff. And not just in Lisbon Falls, but even on Lisbon side up towards Lewiston, we've had some great growth and some really great, hopefully, building blocks up there that we can actually build from. Some nice businesses, and Black Bear Ladder up there has just great building, and I think that's just an opportunity that's going to explode when they see what he's doing up there, because I think he's doing pretty well by the looks of things. So I think a lot of our growth comes from within, and it's the idea of actually, as George mentioned, know what an inventory is and know how things can happen, and helping local people expand, and if not, bring the people from outside the community in to actually help that growth. So
Couldn't agree more. Just one more thing I'd like to say. Bill, you have a unique insight because, like you had said, I think you've been here for 16 years, so I'm going to call you a native of the town, if that's okay with you. But give it time. All kidding aside, you have a unique perspective because you came into our community at a time when it was probably a whole lot different, and you've seen that kind of go from there to here. But something that came to mind as you were finishing up was selling the town to its own residents, and I kept thinking the word influencer, which I'm not a big fan of because I'm not a huge social media lover, but it does have merit. All these different folks jump on now to YouTube, for example, and start a channel, and the next thing you know, they're making money, quitting their day jobs, and they're doing reviews on toys. I'm just using that as an example. So that's something that we have to think about, too, in embracing some of the 21st century approaches to marketing, because I think that's going to attract the desired demographic that we would like to see, which is a broad demographic of folks who are going to want to invest their time and their efforts here because they're looking long term, looking at the long game, being a part of this community and growing it. So, just to kind of, you made me think about that a little bit more, and I really wanted to put it out there so that we can capture that tonight and make sure that we're thinking about that when we're thinking about what our next economic director looks like.
virtual, is that what you're saying?
Well, not so much virtual, but somebody who understands that there's a whole untapped potential. We can have a website, and that's Ducky, but if we're not promoting in all different avenues available to us, then we're missing an opportunity. Anyhow, anyone else?
Hi, Maggie Oliver. I'm the owner of Eastcraft. So when I opened, I actually didn't even meet the economic developer for 2 years, and I didn't get a ribbon cutting for 4 years. If you would have asked me who the economic developer was, I probably would have told you it was Ross. It was not Ross. I just feel like having someone who actually makes themselves present in the business and knowing that there is someone in the town that you can kind of connect to. I would be like thrilled to have any sort of events downtown. I know how to bring people in and get them to spend money. What I don't know, and I can have them thinking that Lisbon is like totally the bomb, but I don't really know how to do it without breaking all the laws. So it's like I need someone to be like, okay, well, you need this license, this, and then you can do that. And I feel like just having someone to really like connect with in that way, like be kind of like the bridge between the business owner who wants to do something fun and the town. Because like I was trying to do the event that I spoke about before, which I would still love to do it, but kind of what happened was I was all on board and I was working with the previous economic developer. I felt like it was really moving in the right direction. All of a sudden there wasn't an economic developer, and I was like, well, I'm not really sure if I know how to do this. And of course Ross offered to help me, but he was going to be out of town on the day that I was going to do the event. So anyone from the town that could help me, do any sort of event, I'd be more than willing to bring people into town to have fun things, kind of on that community side. Like they're not doing the Moxie Festival anymore, but maybe doing other downtown fun things. I know other towns have art walks and all that kind of stuff. Like there's tons of artists in the Lisbon community. I think we could put some cool stuff together with that.
I think there's a partnership opportunity there, because the idea that Fern was talking about, where Mox is a fantastic festival and one of the things that we're known for, but it's also a 3-day event. So we have to take and expand our thinking and not have it be so focused on one event that happens throughout over a 12-month span, and more about how can we break it out into other events too that are maybe not at the same scale but still have the same sort of draw and brings more people through our community and get a better understanding of what it is we have to offer. So I agree with you 100%.
Right.
I think that's a great idea to try to say, how do we look at other times of the year?
And I think people are like, other business owners are totally willing to try to like host these things, but really it's just not knowing how if you don't really have any connections with the town or anything. So,
Someone to remove roadblocks for you.
exactly.
I completely understand what you're saying there.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maggie. Anyone else? Really?
It would be an idea is if we actually have another like 15, 20 minutes, we could do kind of a not formal, but actually just kind of mingle around, talk to people, get some
Sure, we
ideas
can make
and-
it informal.
Yep.
Certainly, if everybody's up to that. Is anybody else? One more time, I'll give you the platform if you want to come up here and just make some remarks regarding what you think might be the best to consider. And then from there, if that's not your thing and you don't want to be in the spotlight, we'll just go ahead and make it informal. We can just chat with one another, continue to brainstorm and throw some ideas around before we move forward with the next step, which is actually starting to interview some candidates. So, if nobody else is going to come up, I will say let's switch it over to the informal. We'll probably shut off the recording at this point. That way we don't.
Reconvene at 7?
Yeah, reconvene for the count. Well, 5 of. That way everybody can. Yep. Sounds good. Thank you for all who have taken a moment, taken their time. Okay. Planning from a rules and laws perspective.